boys and girls, and welcome to the Fine Cut podcast. This week, myself and Senor Blanco, and we have a guest.
Hello.
And we also have a guest, Williamson Townsend.
Hello. Williamson. Thanks for
that. Sorry, just Will Townsend.
That's it. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, just
not too bad.
Yeah, plowing through, like.
Yeah, no other choice. Just
plowing through it, getting it done.
Yeah, good to know.
So, can you tell us something about yourself, like filmmaker, musician type thing?
Where do I start? I don't know. I am 21 years old. I went to university with these two gentlemen. Studied film production, BA honours. Graduated without graduation, and I've directed a few short films before, again with Hayden and Jeff, or worked with them. We've made some good stuff, and looking to make some more once we can legally do it.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
legally
hyped up for it. So what did we want to discuss? It was biopics.
Yeah, biopics.
So how do you define a biopic? Let's just start out with
it. I'd say it's a film about somebody of importance. I suppose it wouldn't have to be about one person. It could be about multiple people, like a band, or it's usually about music, let's be honest. But, and it basically follows something that they did that was notable in history or popular culture. And it usually exaggerates upon what actually happened. I'd say that is a biopic. Do you agree?
Yeah. It's I guess it could just be popular figures as well, like people that were defined as quite interesting back in the day, like Freddie Mercury. He was a very interesting character, wasn't he, back in the day? And people like that want to know the story behind, the way he was.
Yeah, like Gandhi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah, Darkest Hour. There's also that other one that no one's actually seen. I think it's called Churchill.
Yeah, it's got Anthony Hopkins in it, hasn't it?
Oh,
yeah. Churchill. It's about his love life or something like that, I think. That's what it's about, which is strange that you'd make your first Churchill biopic about his love life rather than his overall life.
But then again, like, I think did that and Churchill? Oh, sorry, that one in Darkest Hour. Did they come out at similar times? Because I'm pretty sure it's a little bit like The Theory of Everything, the film with Eddie Redmayne about Stephen Hawking. There was one maybe a few years before. And I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but I'm pretty sure that Theory of Everything just completely sort of overshadowed everything in it. And I think to a degree, the original, I mean, don't quote me on this, I'm just assuming, but I think the original, while a little bit less entertaining, might have actually had some more historical, scientific evidence or accuracy to an extent.
Yeah, that was with Steve Jobs as well, wasn't it? They had the Jobs film with Ashton Kutcher and then the one with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah. I might have got confused there. I might have actually meant the Jobs film. I think that's what I was thinking about, not Theory. Yeah, okay. You're right.
Yeah. I've not seen Jobs. I've seen the Michael Fassbender one. I thought that was pretty good.
I think I've seen Jobs long time ago, like when it came out.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. It's just boring.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It was a very different portrayal, I think, the Michael Fassbender was of Steve Jobs, because like I think a problem with a lot of these biopics, they make the figures too perfect. I think. I suppose that's what happened with a couple of them. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were called, but whereas with the Steve Jobs biopic, they kind of portrayed him in a more realistic way.
Yeah,
because a lot of business owners, they're not always nice people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I don't want to speak ill of Steve Jobs because I didn't know him when he was alive, so I'm not going to say that he was a bad person because he might not have been. But
and then you've got like the founder as well, which I feel like the sort of part of the point in that film was to sort of expose what was his name, Ray something or other.
Oh, I've got Ray Kroc, was it, or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. He basically, I think did he con the original McDonald's owners out of selling him like pretty much all of their business, and then he became a millionaire from it. And they basically, I think they were allowed to keep one restaurant or something, or two restaurants in America, but yeah, they basically
Yeah, but I saw at the end of the credits of that film actually that they barely got like any other revenue from McDonald's, which is really bad.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. I mean, it even has their name, but I don't know if you've seen that one, Jeff.
I haven't. No.
It's quite good actually. It's
yeah, it is pretty good.
If you're interested in pop culture, it's one to watch. It's not the best film, but it's quite interesting. It's a nice little Saturday.
I think it's on Netflix, isn't it, or Amazon? I can't remember. It's one of them two, I think.
No idea. It might be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how I don't know a lot of business. I think like with businessmen, they take a lot of risk and they have to like sometimes be an asshole. Maybe I don't know if that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, like Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Like the film portrays him as very definitely like self-confident, but almost to the point of arrogance. And it sort of portrays that as his downfall, that his arrogance and his sort of again with like the drugs and that was his downfall. Like greed corrupts, I think was the message of the film, or it was the message that I got from it.
Yeah,
but it just sort of shows that. And ironically, I think it has a lot of similarities with a lot of gangster films, but be they based on a real person or not. You got the person like the young whippersnapper coming in, like he's almost like a prodigy, like, oh yeah, you're doing really well in this, you're gonna go far. And then the altercation between the mentor and the young person takes over, they go on, and then their young person, the one that they're mentoring, turns against them. It's got a similar format to it, and a lot of biopics, especially ones with all based on like gangsters, they do tend to be that way. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say with that, but it's like a lot of the thing with that is more like greed and corruption, maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of films try to say with getting rich, there's a lot of sacrifice, because in the Steve Jobs film, there's like he has like this bad relationship with his daughter that he was never able to like really recover from. And so from him like becoming him like, you know, working hard to like get this business afloat, you know, he sacrificed basically his family life for that. Basically, because one of the quotes he said before he died was about I'm gonna die and I'm gonna be very lonely when I'm die. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he's basically saying I can't take any of my money with me, kind of thing.
Okay.
But I've lost all my friends and family and stuff like that. So
it's almost like people who win the lottery, they get all that money, and everyone starts like fighting over it, and like family members who like really who they would otherwise trust, all of a sudden want their share.
Yeah.
Be they have a stake in it or not.
That's why you don't tell anyone that you've won the lottery. I didn't tell anyone. Look at me.
How much did you win?
Can't tell you, mate. Otherwise, you'll want a bit of the slice of the cake. You know.
£5.
£2.
My lips are sealed, so is my wallet.
Fair enough.
No, I've hardly ever won anything. Trust me.
Another question: what makes a film that's generally like an historical film not be a biopic? Because I would imagine that a biopic would be more about someone's life, but if it's mainly about like an historical event, like say the German film Downfall about Adolf Hitler and his days, would you consider that a biopic of Adolf Hitler, even though that he's not the main character and he's not even the only character, it's more of an ensemble piece?
I mean, I haven't actually seen the full film. I've only seen clips, but
the
so
memes.
I wouldn't. I'm not sure. Yeah, basically, I'm not really sure I'll be able to comment, but I definitely say there's a film called. I'm not sure if it was a film or more of like a TV film, but it was called something like the Hitler's Rise to Power or something, and it was like a dramatization of Hitler's early life before sort of World War One sort of era. And that's quite interesting. And that was a biopic because it's just, about him. Yeah, I don't know, because then I suppose you could say that if it's a historical film about anyone, so it's that film with oh, my mind's gone blank. I think it's sort of in the American Civil War. I can't remember what it's called. It's got a famous bloke in it.
Go with the Wind?
No. Like the American Civil War. Patriot, is it called? I think it's Patriot. It's not about anyone like famous, but it's about like the event and how it. And I'm sure the main character might have been a real person. I don't know. It might have been based on somebody, but yeah, I suppose you could say if it's a film more about an event than a person, I think a biopic is when you're focusing on that one person and their journey throughout what they're maybe about to do or invent or something that's going to be remembered throughout history, remembered enough for a film to be made about it, So in the answer to your question, I have no idea whether Downfall but that's my long-winded answer.
I do kind of agree with Will that, like, I don't think Titanic, the film, is a biopic because the characters in it are fictional. I think a few of them were real, based on real people, weren't they, Jeff? I think so.
Yeah, there was
Captain.
Yeah, the cap, and there was also what was her name? Unsinkable. Forget what her surname was. Unsinkable Mary. Something. I can't remember what her surname was.
Yeah.
But she's like one of the rich women in the film, and she survived a trip on the two Titanic sister ships, as well as Titanic, the Britannic, and the Olympic, which both I think one of them sunk, and then the other one got hit by like a torpedo or something. I don't know. I might have made that up. Sure. But they both got damaged. I don't think they all sank, but they nearly sank.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think biopics more about one person or maybe a band or two people, but obviously I think it needs to be based on real people. Like Titanic, the two main characters are fictional characters, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
Yeah,
they are fictional characters. So I wouldn't class that as a biopic.
I seem to think that a biopic without the focus of a famous person or an icon that we recognize is a coming to age film. Like I don't know, like Stand By Me. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh yeah,
it's a great film, and I think if it was based on real people who maybe one of them grew up to be a president or something, in real life, just say, I mean, I know it's ridiculous, right? But imagine that would be technically a biopic because it's about this real person and events that have happened in his life. But obviously, it's not. It's fictional. So I'd say it's got the same concept of story, like narrative. Like they start off in one place, and then by the end of the film, they've experienced something completely different, and it's matured them and changed their way of thinking and changed their sort of maybe their lifestyle, and it's turned them into maybe a more well-rounded individual. And I think it's true in a lot of biopics as well with the main character. And although they might have started off, dull as dishwater at the start in real life, and they may still be dull as dishwater now, the film will always try and portray them to be slightly more interesting than they maybe are in real life.
Yeah. But as going back to Downfall, everybody in that film was based on a real person, weren't they, Jeff? I believe
most were. Yeah, people like Goebbels and his wife and
the kids
and the dogs.
Yeah.
Like all the kids, like the events, are like giving their kids, what was it, cyanide, just to make sure that no one was left. So start with the kids, even give cyanide to the dog, make sure the dogs don't talk. But
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I guess it would be. Maybe. I'm going to Google it actually and see if it is actually classed as a biopic.
Before you Google it, let's say we follow the main character who's like assistant to Hitler. Now, if it turns out that was based on a real person, would that be a biopic? And if it turns out it wasn't, would it still be a biopic? Because by that, it would we'll be able to identify one of the key points that would classify a film as a biopic. So what do you guys think to that?
I don't know. I just maybe I am overthinking this and just it's maybe not. I don't know, because it's about the event, isn't it? But it's got character. It's based on real people.
I'd say in some ways I think it is a biopic because I mean it is a film about an event in multiple people's lives, namely Hitler and Goebbels and every other Nazi that was in the bunker that night. And I think that it does a good job from what I've seen anyway. I think the film does a good job of maybe recreating the final moments of one of the most ruthless dictators in history. So I think I suppose it is whatever way you look at it, really. I mean, because the film isn't about Hitler, is it? It's not like, do you learn, I can't say because I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing you don't learn a lot really about Hitler from watching the film.
You learn a bit.
You do learn a bit.
But it's, all right, okay. So, but I guess, I don't know. I'd say it is, even though I've not seen it. I think.
Yeah, well, on IMDb it says that it's a biopic, so
there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. Are we trusting someone else's authority, or are we like?
I mean, I suppose it is down to your own opinion, but I do think it's a biopic if it's based on real people.
I think recently, and I'm not sure what it is, but biopics have become like really sort of desirable in society nowadays, especially since we've had Bohemian Rhapsody and then Rocket Man. Apparently they're making I don't know if this is still happening because this has been a rumor for about 15 years. They're meant to be making one about the Who. I mean, it's all bands. I mean, they've made about 20 Beatles biopics and I've seen all of them. And then, you've got they've even started making them in the form of like a TV series. So I know ITV did one called Quiz about the couple who cheated on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That was quite good. And, you know, you've got to admire the attention to detail in these. You know, the art direction in them is great, because especially when you're recreating something. So in Quiz, for example, they recreated the entire episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with actors, and like, obviously they recreated the studio. Costumes were all, I think this was probably around like the early 2000s, so costumes were all like accurate, props, like, you know, mobile phones, stuff like that. And yeah, you know, you've got to admire the attention to detail, really.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you've got the question, really, right? So say if you've got a true crime drama, so for example, 10 Rillington Place, I don't know if you've seen that, or there's one about the Moors murders, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. There's like a film about that, and I think that was a 2-part TV drama. I suppose in their own right they are biopics, but I think for the time that they were made, they were intended as sort of a true crime drama rather than a biopic. But then I suppose you could argue that they are in fact the same thing, as long as it's about somebody who existed.
Yeah.
Another thing, you talk about it being based on event. Let's say a film like Dunkirk, based on the event of Dunkirk. No real central character, and don't think characters might be based on people, but the characters in there aren't directly taken from real life. That would not be considered a biopic, would it?
No,
just plain historical.
I'd say it could be historical drama, a war film, whatever. But I mean, take Hacksaw Ridge, right? So the main character, his name's Desmond Doss, and he was a real man. And he was a I can't say the word, conscientious objector. Is that it? I don't know. Basically, it means that you refuse to bear any weapons when you go and fight in a war. So it's a religious thing, basically. And he was a medic, and he somehow survived, and he saved like a load of people, and he got like a Medal of Honor for it or something. But I'd say, you know, that film, I mean, you can apply biopic to any genre, you know. But yeah, I'd say the character is essential. Like I said, with that sort of coming of age thing, you need to have like a sort of a central character where you can see their sort of starting point, and then, you know, their sort of end point, and you can see how they've developed. It's a little bit like, I'd say if Forrest Gump was a real person, that would be a biopic. But he's not real, so that's not, you can't count that one, I'm afraid, because I'd love to count it as a biopic.
I don't think it necessarily has to start from the beginning of our lives. Like Lincoln is a biopic, and that only takes place in one time area, really, when he abolished slavery.
I mean, it depends when. I think it all depends on when, because obviously, for example, let's think. All right, with Hitler, right? For example, right, it's just an easy example. You're not going to make a biopic about Hitler when he was a baby, because it's going to be boring and no one's really going to watch it. But rather, you're going to make a biopic about Hitler like towards the end of his life or in the middle of his life, where, you know, he sort of did something exciting. So I think it does all depend on when, like, when you've, you know, when they've done the thing that makes them who they are. Like, you know, I don't think you'd make a biopic about I mean, I could go on with multiple examples of the same thing I just said. You know, you get the picture. You know,
don't make a biopic. Don't make a Star Wars film where Darth Vader's a kid, basically.
Yeah, that would be like a terrible idea. Yeah,
like they did with Phantom Menace.
Don't make a biopic about Yoda as a kid.
Or like you say about, like, that's just basic basic story development. You want to pick the inciting incident because
Yeah, of course.
If things don't happen, like, yeah, what's the point in it? Hollywood isn't going to make a film about a fictional man in 1896
Yeah.
and have nothing happen to him of interest, and just having like a boring, because no one's going to watch it.
Well, that's the thing, right? When you watch a biopic, like for example, Bohemian Rhapsody, the timeline is completely wrong.
Yeah.
He didn't get diagnosed with HIV until, like, I think it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think it was at least like 5 years after the end point of the film, which is when he gets told that, gets diagnosed. So it sort of makes the question I want to ask you to, right, is should biopics exaggerate or create fictional elements of the story in order to entice viewers, or should they be kept to the basic facts of what happened during the event or the person's life?
I think most biopics exaggerate in some way, shape, or form, because, like, I think a lot of people don't have as exciting lives as you think they do. Like, you got to think it's day to day, work or whatever for them.
Yeah.
So I think they have to create something to entice the audience. Like with Bohemian and Rhapsody, like they made out in the film, but they didn't play together for, like, what was it, like 5 years or something like that, even though they went on tour before they did the Band-Aid thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And in Rocket Man, I'm pretty sure that film was meant to have ended in the 90s, but Elton John, apparently, according to the film, didn't age a day since 1972. So I don't know.
Yeah. So when they're doing, like, the narrative structure of something like Bohemian Rhapsody, they need some kind of climax, some kind of problem in there. So maybe that's, like, maybe they do need some kind of drama in there. In my opinion, because sometimes if you just tell the story as it is, it just doesn't work as a film. Like, I think that would be for a lot of people, really.
Yeah.
Another example, The Crown, season 4.
Yeah.
You've got Margaret Thatcher, who's deciding to like whether they should invade or like go to the Falklands and kick out the Argentines from there, while also being distracted that her son went missing.
Yeah.
The Falklands War happened in 1982. Her son went missing in 1983. There was no overlap whatsoever with that, but they sort of had that cross-cut sort of like whatever happened with that, like just to build more tension, build more like dramatic impacts. Now, the events themselves, they happened, and generally the Crown is either accurate or imaginatively accurate. And like with other things, they try to inform the viewer. Things like King Edward the Eighth, who abdicated. Honestly, didn't know he was a Nazi sympathizer until I watched The Crown. But that wasn't the reason why he abdicated, though.
No.
Yeah.
But his wife was friends with a lot of Nazis. I think that was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what was I going to say? What do you think about in biopics? I was watching Walk the Line, which is the Johnny Cash biopic with Joaquin Phoenix. Made I think it was released like a few years after Johnny Cash actually died. But Joaquin Phoenix met Johnny Cash before he took the role on. Or I think they were in talks about it, and Johnny Cash was aware that the film was being made in his later years. And so Joaquin Phoenix could really sort of like, suss out Johnny Cash and make sure that he's given the role justice. But what do you think about characters that existed in real life, but in the film are written as maybe a little bit of an enemy or a setback for the main character, and in turn it might sort of, especially if the character's dead, it may tarnish their legacy or their reputation as a person. So an example I've got for this, in the same film, Walk the Line, Johnny Cash's first wife is seen as a little bit of a setback for his career. She's not entirely happy with him pursuing music, and she doesn't believe in him. And, you know, it's shown that she thinks that he's wasting his time. And in turn, she's not shown as the most supportive of people. And as the audience, it makes you kind of want to just, you know, because you want to see the main character thrive. But apparently in real life, she wasn't like that at all. And his family have actually said that they were pretty disappointed with the way that she was portrayed. So, yeah, what do you think about that sort of thing?
That's a very difficult one for me, because it's about, do you sacrifice somebody's reputation to have, like, because if we're looking at narrative structure again, you know, there's always got to be that force of antagonism in there. And if they need a force of antagonism that's not already there in the story itself, and they need to make somebody the antagonist, I guess, which is a very hard thing to do. But like, I don't know. I hate it when, like, have you guys seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino film?
I've seen bits.
Yeah, well, they portrayed Bruce Lee like, I did not like the way they portrayed Bruce Lee in that film.
No,
like, they were so disrespectful to Bruce Lee in that film. But Tarantino has argued that Tarantino said, oh well, Bruce Lee was that way, even though I don't think he was only a kid when Bruce Lee was around. And well, they basically make him, well, in the film, they basically make him out to be kind of fake, I guess. Kind of fake and very ego-driven. And I think those kind of portrayals where it's just like there wasn't any need for Bruce Lee to be like that, but Tarantino made him like that because that's what he does, I guess. But yeah, I think that if it's not for a force of antagonism, then you shouldn't do that, especially with somebody like Bruce Lee who's dead. Because his daughter tried to sue Quentin Tarantino, I think she did, for the way he was portrayed in the film. But that film is horrible, by the way. I don't recommend it. Like, it's basically a Tarantino ego fest, basically.
It's got a sort of weird narrative.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. I can understand why people like it, because it's like a very anti-narrative kind of film. There isn't really, like, there's very not a whole lot. Yeah, well, there's not a whole lot in there, you know. And this is coming from a guy who's a fan of Tarantino's earlier work, not so much The Hateful Eight and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I like Django Unchained, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, but that film just, I don't know, there just wasn't much there for me. And then they just completely changed, well, the course of history, but I suppose they did that with Inglourious Bastards. So
do the filmmakers have that responsibility to be truthful? Like, someone in real life can be antagonistic and still portray them as antagonistic, but you're saying in the case where someone
it wasn't needed, basically.
No, and especially if someone's died.
Yeah, it wasn't needed. Whether or not Bruce Lee was an egotistical arsehole, I don't know, because I didn't know the guy.
I mean, he could well have been, but at the same time, you know, it sort of makes you think, at what point is it wrong that, you know, somebody is going to be seen in the public view as a bit of a menace?
Yeah,
when really they might have been lovely, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm desperately trying to rack my brain and think if there's any lawsuits that I know about, between film companies and people who have, been involved, but I honestly have no idea. I mean, I'm sure there's been a few.
Definitely. Wasn't like, I think South Park got in a bit of trouble for some of their stuff, didn't they? Which they did with some celebrities.
I mean, probably, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Speaking about people like not liking what's been told about them, going back to The Crown, a lot of members of the royal family are very, this didn't happen, this, because especially more recent seasons, they've not been too favourable to people. Like, you used to think, oh yeah, the Queen seems to be really nice, but by season 3, it's like, really? Like, you're really gonna treat people like that? And
I think
Charles, I thought I sympathise with him, and then I thought, Matt, you are an utter prick now, and that's how it was portrayed.
I think the thing is with the Crown is that thing is with the royal family, in fact, is they are sort of, I mean, you know sort of who they are, but at the same time you haven't got a clue who they are, because the thing is, the way that they portray themselves in public is very different to how they portray themselves behind closed doors. But you are probably never going to see them behind closed doors because they're intensely private. So that's what makes me think that you cannot think or you cannot believe that anything really in The Crown is true to life. I mean, I think that it's based on, maybe loosely based on real events, but at the same time, and I don't doubt that some of the things that are shown in The Crown happened, but I don't think that they are to be taken sort of literally. I think it's just for entertainment.
Yeah.
But there were a few things, like one of the affairs that Diane had was with a certain
Diane,
pale skin, redhead.
Yeah.
Which again was a big
James Hewitt.
That's the name. Yeah, so I couldn't think of the name, but yeah. And that was big controversy back in the 80s, and showing that again, it's something that was either it happened or allegedly happened, but it's just showing the series itself is showing what's there. Like, if film or series portrays someone in a negative light, obviously that person either way isn't going to like it. Their family isn't going to like it. But if it's true, if it's more accurate that they're not being portrayed in a negative light because they weren't a very nice person, at least not a very nice person to the protagonist, do they have a right to complain?
I mean, I think so, because assuming that you weren't involved in the production of the film, they're using your image, or your family's image, maybe deceased relatives' image, and if they're using that negatively, then it's difficult, really, isn't it? Because I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not a legal expert, so I wouldn't be able to tell you where you'd have grounds to like sue or or anything like that. But I think I think you should have the right to at least complain. Defend your corner, because I don't know, if there's a film that's portraying you as something that you're not. Like, I don't know, for example, there might be a film that portrays someone as a villain, maybe. You should have the right to come out and say that that's not how things happen. That's not how it played out, and you're a different person.
Another example, that Sully with the Hudson thing. Like the whole hearing thing with that there was a hearing obviously afterwards, but apparently in real life that went smooth, and it was like, yeah, just lay out the facts, and it's like, okay, yeah, thank you, and it was like, no, so they did the right thing. saved everyone on board, blah blah blah. But in the film, it was like this tense moment where is he going to lose his job or whatever? Which again, that never happened, and the man came out and said the film was all right. It's just this bit didn't happen. Sort of bugs me, but I mean, it could be worse.
Yeah.
Then I suppose if it didn't happen in the film, you're going to watch it and think, well, that was easy, you know.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. What about documentaries as well? Because talking about portrayals of people, like I think documentaries are probably the ones that get the most controversy when it comes to how they portray people.
Do you have anything in mind?
There was Tiger King, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I think documentary. I think it's. I think documentary is a bit more of a door that you go down if you want to portray facts. I mean, obviously, no, it's a door that you go down if you want to portray an opinion. But I think that obviously opinion can be swayed by certain things. It's not always fact, but it's nice to be a bit informative in a documentary and give some fact to back up your opinion. But I think that they should be more factual than a biopic, because you're, rather than exaggerating, as in dramatizing, you're actually showing like, this is what happened at this time because of this, blah blah blah, and you're putting the building blocks together to show that's how it happened, rather than, you know, then something went boom in the background and he shot himself, you know.
It's funny because documentaries tend to change people's perspective on people the most. I think, like with Tiger King and stuff like that, that changed a lot of people's perspectives. Like, I've read that Mike Tyson like regretted getting a tiger after watching Tiger King because he had a tiger as a pet. If you've seen Hangover, then you know that.
So probably a difference there is that people watch a biopic, even though it's based on a real thing. The audience know that it's just a film, it's fictional. There's going to be artistic licenses. With a documentary, there's almost an authority to it. It's like, no, what we're showing you here is truth. I mean, it can be someone's truth. It can be one person's perspective or no, blah 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 blah. But no, this is facts that we're showing you. We're not showing you a sexed up version of what happened.
Yeah, but also the thing with documentaries as well is the editing sometimes makes things look different than they actually are. That's one thing that I think people need to be careful of with documentaries.
I mean, sort of talking about documentary, I don't know if either of you have seen the Netflix series about the Cecil Hotel, and the Elisa Lam disappearance murder.
I know about the case, though.
Well, I'll tell you what, the documentary was really good, actually. And it had a few snippets. I mean, it was a documentary. I wouldn't class it as a biopic, but it did have a few sort of cutaways of like you know, an actress playing the character. But for the most part, it was sort of like archive footage, or, you know, aerial shots of the city or whatever they were talking about. But it's really great because in each episode it presents a new opinion, and if you're a bit naive like me, then you believe you change your opinion each episode, and you're like, that's what happened. And then you watch the next one, you're like, no, that's what happened. And each episode gives you a new opinion to sort of like feast on. And I suppose in between watching each episode, you're trying to think about other conclusions and what else could have happened. And then by the end of it, it gives you the sort of final opinion, which I won't spoil it, but it's great, really. I really enjoyed watching that. But yeah, and at the end, it sort of throws you about the room a bit with all these different sort of scenarios of what could have happened. But it's almost like plot twists, because I'm not sure how this is relating to the point of biopics, but I just wanted to talk about it.
No,
it's sort of it throws you around the room and gives you all these different things to think about, but tricks you because you don't think that it's gonna. It sort of reaches the conclusion, and then in the next episode, it's like, well, that couldn't have happened because this happened, and then it goes down this whole different path of, you know, this evidence led to this, and then blah blah blah. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah,
and I think crime really works with documentary biopics.
Yeah, another like point to follow on from this actually is, has anybody seen the Yorkshire Ripper documentary?
What was that called?
On Netflix.
I started watching it, but I got bored, so I stopped.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of complaints from people wanting the documentary taken down because they're saying it's glorifying what the Yorkshire Ripper did. Does this could also relate to biopics actually? Do we think that we should be? Do you think we should be shown these documentaries and biopics as well about these murderers? Like you've got Ted Bundy as well with Zac Efron.
You've got the thing is, you've got loads of them coming out now as well. So you had and usually the format that they do, and they don't make them as films, they'll make them as series, or it'll go on like a streaming site, or it'll be televised and then put on a streaming site like BritBox or BBC iPlayer or something. And you know, you've had White House Farm, which was about Jeremy Bamber, who killed his family for their money. And then what was the other? Appropriate Adult, which was about Fred West. Rillington Place, as I've already mentioned, which was about what's his name? Can't remember his name. He was a murderer. And then what was that? Dares with David Tennant about. Dennis Nilsen.
I saw that. Yeah,
but I don't know. I think I agree with you when you say, you know, it's almost glorifying them, and it's giving them a spotlight, really, isn't it? So Dennis Nilsen, I think, well, from the documentary, or not the documentary, from the biopic, it seems like he wanted nothing but sort of a bit of spotlight. He wanted to be known as like a gruesome murderer or whatever, because he'd employed this guy to write the book about him and all of this. And it's almost like giving them what they want, I suppose. But in saying that, I think true crime, and especially British true crime, especially something that's disgusting or unbelievable, makes money. And that's why I think we're seeing all these documentaries about these serial killers. It's not to glorify them, it's to make money. And unfortunately, that is the way of the world. And that's how people think. People don't think about any of that.
Although you could, I don't know but you could also argue that exposing this stuff is also making people aware of what can actually happen. Like a lot of people, like I know somebody that works for, I'm not going to say, well, like an agency for like British intelligence or something like that, like in this area. And he told me, you won't believe how many like murders there are around your area.
Wow. What, in
Yeah, that kind of
no.
God damn it, Jeff, you exposed my area.
I can believe it.
No.
Censored, Jeff.
Sorry. Or like what was it? Nottingham was once called Shottingham because of gun crime.
Yeah, so like he said to me, you won't believe how many murders happen every week in your area. Like, so in a way, I guess it kind of makes people aware that this stuff does happen. Like it happens all the time, but you just don't hear about it. But I guess in a way, it makes people think more in situations. If they get themselves like into a situation like somebody's, I don't know, stalking them or whatever, they're in a bit of trouble, how to get out of that situation maybe. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like it makes people more aware that these people do exist and they're dangerous.
No, you got a good point there.
And also, like, if you see people doing like strange stuff, you know, report it to the police, kind of thing.
Have you guys seen Mindhunter?
No.
Mindhunter, what's I remember it, actually.
It's sort of like based on these FBI guys pioneering criminal like psychology. And the guy who originally did it, his name is John Douglas. He wrote an autobiography called Mindhunter. And the series itself is based on that, but instead of having like John Douglas, it's instead Holden Ford. So they've created like it's basically you said the same function, but a different character. So all the personal interactions that they can just make it up. Well, I think he was actually a hostage negotiator, like in the series. But he interviews all these different real life criminals, like serial killers, with all these like tense like interviews and like what's his name? Ed, sort of like tall, large guy, glasses, mustache. Ed Kemper. Sure. Ed Kemper. The casting they did for him was brilliant, but like all the serial killers were real. Like Ed Kemper, Charles Manson, BTK killer, I think he was there as well. But portraying them in a negative light, like we were talking before, I don't think they have a right to complain, really. That you portrayed me as a murderer. And it's like, yeah, but bro, you murdered them. You can't moan about that. But the real people, I said the real people, yeah, the killers were real people. But the innocent people, their names were sort of put under that level of anonymity. But yeah, there is a sort of morbid fascination with serial killers. I mean, you say it's probably spiked now, but it's always been there.
It has.
It's always been there. Yeah.
But obviously, the longer in time we go along, the more serial killers there are. So there's more to make films on.
Yeah.
I was actually reading this documentary about one of the worst female serial killers in history. Certainly the worst one in Bristol. She lived not far away from where I live. And this was in the Victorian times, so don't worry, I'm perfectly safe. I'd be safe anyway because she had a thing for murdering babies. And here's the thing: did you know in the Victorian times, if a lady didn't have a husband, obviously it was seen as like a taboo back then to have a baby without a husband, or to be a single mother. Women would choose to have their babies put down at birth because the shame of being a single mother was too much for them to endure.
Holy shit!
And it was perfectly legal back then to just ask the doctor to put it down. They do it, and I'm pretty sure it was all right, and this woman basically had a son with her husband. And I think her husband might have died or something, or they got divorced or something. And obviously divorce was pretty rare back then. And then she became like a nanny. And during the time that she was a nanny, she murdered over 400 babies. And I think she went to prison. Yeah, she went to prison. I think they released her and she just started killing them again. But by the end of it, she wasn't so careful about how she... sort of how discreet she was being with the old murdering. So she started leaving bits and bobs everywhere. You can probably imagine. Pretty gross, to be fair.
It's like Howard Shipman. Like he's one of the more prolific serial killers in the UK, isn't he? That have been caught.
Probably in the world, actually. I think he probably killed more people than anyone else ever has, because he started when he was so young or whatever, and I mean his method was so discreet because he was a doctor and he was respected.
Killing people in the homes, people that you'd think, oh well, they would have died anyway.
Yeah, and you don't realise that it was at his hands.
Well, there's also, have you heard of the Manchester Pusher?
No, I've heard of the Bristol Pusher.
Well, I don't think they've actually caught anyone yet, but they keep finding all these dead bodies that like have drowned in the canals in Manchester, and they've like fished them out. No struggle, no like blunt force trauma, just in the water. And once they're in the cold water, they're in shock, and if they don't get out of the water, they'll die. But if you assume, and there are theories to suggest nothing concrete, but if you assume that the vast majority of those are deliberate and by the same person, that would mean that there would be a very, very prolific serial killer in Manchester.
I mean, put it this way, if he lives in Manchester now, he probably lived in Bristol a few years ago, because there was probably in the space of maybe a year, there were maybe like 5 or 6 people who died in both Bristol and Bath, in like the harbour side or the River Avon or whatever it is. And there was this big theory about a Bristol pusher, and someone was going around pushing people in. But the thing I find hard to believe with that story is the majority of the bodies they found in the water had their trousers down to their ankles and their dick out. So I think that they were on a drunken night out having a piss in the river. Suddenly they fall in, they're too pissed to know what to do. Their trousers around their ankles so they can't move their legs properly, and then they drown. I don't think that there's somebody pushing some, but they could be, but I don't think there is.
A counter theory. People who are in an inebriated state will be easy prey for someone.
No, so you're right.
If you were a serial killer, who would you go for? Like the completely sober person aware of their surroundings, or the one that is, and then just, I mean, just hypotheticals. And
you're right.
Nothing's proven.
What you've got to think about is if somebody pushed somebody in, there would have had to be somebody who'd seen it or been nearby when it happened.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And if it's dark, and if it's covered by trees, and if you pick your spot.
Don't pick your spots.
Well, if you like, this is like, there's no cover, there's no like lamps to illuminate this area. If people do hear anything, they're not going to see anything and disappear.
I think I just found the Manchester Pusher. Just found the Manchester Pusher.
No. But yeah, like it's serial killers and that, and are interesting. It's just, I don't think everyone who watches anything to do with serial killers are, want to kill people. But what about, say, documentaries or YouTube documentaries about conspiracy theories? Those who bend the truth there, those that hide under the veil of documentary, but
do you mean more like commentary, or so like do you mean the format of like someone sitting in front of a camera and reading out a theory that they've heard, or do you mean like an actual,
hence the documentary?
I mean, some of them have a point. Like, I've always thought the Mandela effect ones, don't know if you've heard about that. I've always thought that they were quite interesting, because, but then again, whether you find it interesting or whether you believe it is two completely different things. And personally, if I see a conspiracy theory online, I'm not going to believe it unless it's got very, very good, so for example, like I believe the world is flat because the other day I went for a walk and I nearly fell off the edge. But there's some things that I just find a bit baffling, really, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Could you say panspermia is a conspiracy theory? Or is it a legitimate theory?
You're going to have to explain that to me because I have no idea what panspermia is.
The life developed through biogenesis, meaning that another intelligent life seeded life on Earth, and that they also seed life everywhere else in the universe, being the panspermia part.
I don't know, that's too complicated for me to think about.
I'll word it better another day.
Anyways, Jeff, I had a name immediately come to my head as soon as you mentioned that. As soon as you mentioned about people reading out stuff.
Yeah.
Ben Chappelle.
Ben Chappelle?
Yeah.
Who's Chappelle?
Who's that?
Well, it's Chappelle, isn't it? Ben Chappelle, the guy that right-wing guy on YouTube.
Oh, Shapiro.
Shapiro, yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of another guy. I'm thinking of right guy, wrong name.
Mm.
Can you remember when he had that argument with Andrew Moore, was it? And he literally like asked him a genuine question, and then Ben Chappelle just went, "You're just a leftist." I'm like, well, that's like an example of that, isn't it? Because it's just somebody bending what he's just said. Well, I don't know if it would be bending. He just said you're a leftist as a response.
Yeah, and if you know anything about Andrew Neil,
and he does that all the time. It's like, you know, he just says you're a leftist. I'm like, where's the genuine response to the question? But I see it a lot where people manipulate stuff, like they manipulate how they read stuff just to push this agenda or something like that.
Well, like the media.
Yeah, but have you seen Kate Hopkins' channel? It's fucking stupid, man.
No, because I'm not fucking stupid.
Well, she is stupid. That's why.
It's fucking ridiculous what she says and puts out there. At first it was people were saying, oh, well, she's just saying what people are thinking. But then she just says all this bullshit, which is just as bad as what the people she was criticizing.
Well, I mean, that's her business model. Outrage people, gets her more attention, and more people come to her. Some of those people will stay because they actually buy into what she says, and she can monetize that. I mean, oldest trick in the book.
Yeah, she was saying that people that clap for the NHS are like sheep and stuff like that.
Oh, she's a sheep.
I'm like, well, good luck. You know, next time you need an operation on your leg or something like that, I don't know. You'll be clapping for them. Yeah.
No. Last week I mentioned Archie Manners and Josh Peters.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video that they did where they tricked her? Like, she was just jumping up like, oh, thank you for giving me this trophy. Yeah.
It's like the first thing she's ever sort of been given.
Campaign to unify the nation trophy.
They did the one, I think it was not long ago. Was it about they tricked a load of actors or something or YouTubers into thinking that they were auditioning for Borat 3 or something?
Yeah.
That was quite good actually, but it makes me think. Always makes me think, imagine how many people are sort of not pleased by, because obviously it's a prank, it's meant for a joke and it's funny to watch, but imagine being the person in that scenario, maybe not the ones where they you get them pranks where they prank a pizza delivery guy and then give him a 50 quid tip. Yeah, I'd be happy. But I mean the ones where I don't know, they get someone along for an interview and the whole point of it is to sort of take the piss out of them or make them do stupid things without them knowing. It's almost a bit it's unprofessional for a start. I mean, I know it's funny and it's for entertainment, But when that person's sort of unknowing, and I know that's part of the fun, I'm aware of that, but it strikes a chord with me because it makes me feel slightly bad for him, I guess.
I know what you're saying, but I'd say it depends on, are they punching up or punching down? Because someone like Katie Hopkins has had a history of punching down to people. Like, and then she has like a sob story saying that, oh, I'm epileptic. I'm like, I honestly do not give a single shit what you are. You're just a horrible human being.
She was always dismissing other people's like stuff.
Exactly.
Like she was saying she wouldn't hire a fat person.
And
even
it's just,
if it doesn't have any, if like the job's not a physical, like if physicality doesn't come to the job, why should that matter? Like if they can do the job fine, then why should it matter if they're a bit overweight? But obviously I don't promote, obviously I'm not going to say I'm going to promote like unhealthy lifestyles or anything like that, but like some people can't help it, you know. Like some people have genuine conditions for it.
But no, I understand what you're saying. Well, like saying that, oh yeah, but being unprofessional, someone like doing that. But I think you have to pick your target, because the Borat films, that was all about that. Like it was like good-hearted fun with some people. Like obviously the Sterling character they didn't know, but it wasn't like taking the mick out of them. Like say with the people like going to that in the first Borat film, like the rodeo, and the guy was saying that, now why do you have to go around with that mustache? You look like one of them Arabs. I look at you and I'm like, what kind of bomb is he having on him? Like, why don't you shave off that mustache so you look more like an Italian? That was a horrible accent, but I'm paraphrasing what that man said. And for someone like that, you might think, bruh, like I don't care. That's obviously not a very nice person, but taking the piss out of him is punching up typically. But what do you feel to that scenario, you guys?
I remember watching this YouTuber a couple of years ago. I can't actually remember his name, that's why I'm not going to say it, but I can't remember his name. His name was Joe Summer. He was like a prankster. Like they used to have this trend on YouTube where there was like fake pranksters and then there was real pranksters, and the real pranksters were all about, well, we're real and the others are fake. And this guy, obviously I can't remember his name, but I remember this one prank he did where he like put a dildo in like a burger and then took it back to the manager, and the manager got so pissed off with him and he threw like the burger back at him and stuff like that. But then the guy filming it like threw the burger back, and I'm like, well, first of all, you shouldn't put that on there because that guy's job is now at risk, and you don't know, he might have been having a really shitty day, and you've just made it his day even worse. I think that's wrong in a sense, because it's just like you're putting something on there exploiting somebody who's clearly not having a good day, and you punching down, like you said, punching down on somebody.
The thing is, though, I think people who make content for YouTube especially, sometimes they don't care who they're sort of affecting. They sort of just want to get the views. And obviously if that manager did overreact like that, it's going to get more views than if the manager just looked at it and been like, why the fuck have you given me a dildo? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I get what you mean, but I think I mean, I'm sort of like contradicting what I've said before now, but I think that like I think that, you know, like Jeff said, you know, you've got to pick your target, but I think you know, you've got to learn to take it well.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't, you'll get over it.
Yeah, like there's some pranksters that do it right and they pick the targets and it's all good and stuff, but like some like Balls of Steel, that used to be brilliant. Game over Balls of Steel. Like, but like I don't know, like sometimes I think they could just consider what the person's feeling at the time, maybe.
I guess.
What about going back to Borat, Rudy Giuliani. They were trying to prank him and saying that, oh yeah, trying to say all this absolute nonsense about stuff like how far will he go to say Trump is literally the sun shines out of his arse. But then he nearly, again, alleging here, but he was very touchy-feely with her and then reaching down into his pants. That pranking, yeah, they pranked Giuliani, but
yeah,
and they were punching up at him. They didn't realize how much they were punching up at him because, yeah, he's a shill for Trump, but they realized, wait, no, this person's actually, one of those. Well, I'm not sure what word I should use here, but so someone who exploits their position for to get to people to help them be sexually gratified.
Yeah, a prick.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I think, man,
sort of makes me think about. Do you ever watch Sam Pepper?
Oh yeah. Well,
On
that's what
YouTube?
came to mind with the whole thing with the girls' horses. Apparently, he paid all of them though, and it was all fake.
I mean, I can believe it was fake, but I mean, the thing is, not doing yourself a favor, is it? I mean,
No.
I mean, I'm glad to hear that it was fake, but I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that whole thing, and I feel like the YouTube prank scene, especially looking back maybe 5 or 6 years and more, used to be a breeding ground for filth, really. I think there was no limit on what was acceptable as a prank or a social experiment. It was like, there was one, it was like a kissing prank where some bloke would go out and try and get a kiss off a girl, and he'd do that thing where like they kiss his cheek and he'd turn his head really quickly. And it's just it's a bit like, by today's standards, it's a bit weird, but back then no one really questioned it until the whole Sam Pepper thing kicked off, and people thought, hang on a minute, that's kind of not right. You can't just go and do that.
Yeah, a lot of people have given the YouTube like, if you notice, the YouTube monetizing systems like changed over the years to now where there's a lot of limits on what you can say and can't say, and what you can do and can't do to get monetization. Maybe, although I don't agree with entirely what they do, maybe that's one of the things that's made a positive impact, maybe, because it has stopped a lot of that kind of stuff coming in now.
Maybe,
because they're not getting the sponsorships or anything like that, because advertisers don't want their names put into that kind of content.
I guess, but I think it's one thing not looking like a sexual predator in your video and then and then like swearing in your video. I think there's a big difference, especially because the YouTube sort of restrictions now is very much based around swearing. If you swear, you've got to beep it out. You're not allowed to talk about sexually gratifying material. I'm not sure you're even allowed to speak about like sex toys on YouTube nowadays. I don't think you're allowed to say anything that would be particularly like damaging to children, even though like unless you sort of age restrict it. But in my opinion, it's a way of policing what goes on the website, and a way of policing or a way of censoring what is and what isn't said, like you said. But I think the most important thing is, it does help clean up YouTube, like you've said, but I think maybe not in the best way, because and I'm not saying it does, but if it wasn't done right, it could take away freedom of speech.
Yeah, absolutely. That's well, as I said, I don't entirely agree with what YouTube's done, but at least we've got rid of some of them videos. I think what happened with the Paul brothers did a lot of that, to be honest, as well. Which I'm not going to say what that was, because everybody knows what that was that happened with the Paul brothers.
You mentioned like freedom of speech. I mean, yeah, you've got like the freedom to express yourself, but I think we should also remember that YouTube is a privately owned company. They reserve the right to withdraw service from anyone at any point.
Yeah.
So it's like when people like people of certain like shouty that we've previously talked about, when they get banned off social media, it's like, no, I'm being censored. It's like, no, they don't want you in their on their platform. It's like, say if I host a party and someone like drops their trousers down and does a massive shit, like I'm gonna be like, oi, you get out now. And they were like, well, but you invited me. I thought we were having a good time. Just, bro, you took a massive dump on the coffee table. Get out now. And it's that they reserve the right to refuse service, much like with anything else. And
yeah, I guess
there's that to consider. So when people talk about the First Amendment, it only protects them from infringement of freedom of speech from the government. And even that has limits. If you committing libel, defamation, or sort of other things as well, but that they're not allowed.
Yeah, like the copyright system as well. That's like, I think that's a bad thing, because if you look at the fair use laws especially, and what YouTube enforces, I don't think it's right, really. I mean, like a lot of video game guys get this trouble as well, and a lot of other guys, like, I think you can still obviously get sponsorship, but you can't monetize. Is that correct?
I think so.
I think they might have changed it from since I last read it. But
yeah, that is right. It's I know a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers, especially, who are struggling at the moment. What they do is they'll search for a sponsorship so that they don't have to worry about not swearing, or they don't have to worry about what they're particularly talking about, because you can still upload on YouTube whatever you want, really, as long as it's not anything horrendous. But they will sort of they won't monetize you if they and a big problem with what I've seen recently is a few YouTubers who I follow have they've basically had their video removed, or the monetization removed, because YouTube auto captions picked up like a swear word that's not even in the video, right? Not there at all, but YouTube thinks it's there, so they remove all monetization. And of course, with YouTube, you've got to wait 3 or 4 days before anyone actually gets back to you and helps you out. So it can be frustrating for some people, and a lot of people forget that YouTube, it is some people's full-time job. They've got no other income source. So it's either sponsorship or monetization, and that's about it, or merch maybe if they've got it.
Well, sorry, Jeff, go on.
No, you.
No, it's funny how YouTube's changed over the years when it comes to, because like I remember back in like 2012, like people were saying to YouTubers, you shouldn't do this full time because it's not a reliable source of income. Now you've got YouTubers that are basically millionaires. It's very crazy how it's all changed. Like KSI, like how much is he worth? He must be worth like quite a few million now from everything he's done. And PewDiePie as well, I guess. He went on Jimmy Kimmel, didn't he? Was it Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah, probably. Well, PewDiePie's got to be a billionaire now, surely.
Yeah, probably. It's crazy. It's crazy how it's like changed. Like, here's a question for you, actually. Do you think YouTube can compete with like mainstream TV? Like not Netflix, but like mainstream TV, like ITV, BBC?
Yes.
Channel 4.
Not at the moment.
Maybe.
Give it 10 years.
I do think so as well. Like, I mean, we've talked about this, Jeff, haven't we? I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast, but like, I'm so like fed up with BBC. Like, they force people to pay TV licenses, even though the quality of the products they're delivering are not to like the standard, like the high standard that Netflix, Amazon, and even YouTube like put out there.
And Even if you ain't got a TV, they'll still knock on your door and demand to come in your house to check if you've got a TV.
Legally, you don't have to let them in. They can't force themselves in. You just say,
exactly.
no, don't come in. Like, but you watching TV in the background. Don't come in. You can't check.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about the BBC charging. It's not the BBC doing that. It's the government. But the thing is, when the government remove the whole thing about giving over 75s free TV licenses, they say, yeah, we're cutting out a license. They don't have responsibility. They shift blame it to the BBC. BBC don't have a say in it. They're just given a load of money by the government saying, right, this is your money. Go do your stuff with it. And so they do the best with what they have.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the license, we shouldn't hold the BBC to account. We should go to the government and
yeah. But going back to like mainstream TV, like I don't know about you guys, but like 95% of mainstream TV is just trash.
Yeah.
Like it is absolute trash. Like there's this show coming out called The Circle, and it's just absolute fucking trash, man. Like I don't like. I can find. It's crazy how I can find stuff on YouTube that's more entertaining and in some aspects higher quality to watch than stuff I can watch on TV now. It's strange.
Here's a thing. I've heard rumors, but I'm not sure if it's true. Is BBC Three coming back to the TV?
Haven't heard that.
I don't know.
Because I heard that the other day. Because I think that BBC Three and I think they're up there with Channel 4. I think at the moment they're creating some of the best content for TV, but unfortunately it's not on TV, it's on iPlayer. But I never understood when I understood why they brought it onto iPlayer. I think if anything it was a bit soon, because I don't think the online streaming services had really kicked off by the time they put that on there. You had Netflix, but it wasn't anything like it is today, where they're creating their own content for their own site. But I think, I think. Sorry, I've literally just forgotten what's going to say. Oh, that's embarrassing. What was I talking about?
BBC, not.
That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So apparently, BBC Three is coming back to telly. And sorry. I always thought when they started, why couldn't they put it on both? Why couldn't they have kept the BBC Three channel, and then maybe had exclusive content on iPlayer for people to look at? Because I think they assume that younger people are more likely to be using the internet than watching telly, which is true. But later at night, and maybe not so much now, because who actually has a TV that works in their room? I don't. So, I'm not sure who really. But I personally, I think there's going to be a market for TV for a lot longer, because I think older people, especially those who are maybe middle-aged, in their 50s, 60s, they're more akin to watching the telly. It's what they've known for a while. They go home, read the newspaper, watch the telly. There's not many 50-year-olds. I mean, actually, there probably is. Maybe the older generation even. There's not many old age pensioners that I'd know that go home, read the paper on their iPad, and then watch BBC Three on their Fire Stick. It's all like, you watch it on the telly, and the digital switch over, you can tell that was a nightmare for old people. They fucking hated it, didn't they? Digital switch over, fucking hell. But yeah, there you go. I think BBC Three, it was taken off TV too quickly. Not that I've really missed it, because it's on iPlayer, so why do I care? But a lot of people seem to be very hurt by the fact that it was taken off the telly. So hopefully, if it is back, it's going to mend a lot of people's broken hearts.
Yeah, touch wood.
Yeah. I just think they don't, like, TV channels don't do enough to bring younger people over. Like, most of the stuff they're putting out is just like, it's all right for older people. Like, that is fair enough. If you watch The Circle, if you watch Love Island, that's fair enough. I have nothing against you for that. But like, when you can find stuff on YouTube that's better quality and more entertaining to watch, you've got to question, what are we paying a TV license for?
There's a limit though. Like traditional channels have a limit on their schedules. They can't have like say someone like the people making a series, they can't have like their finale 90 minutes, take a 90-minute slot when they've only got their 60-minute slot. It has to be pre-planned, everything like that.
No,
but with streaming, they
they
can do it as long as well. Yeah, they can, but it's
Because
generally pushing and
if
pulling.
you've ever watched Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who, you will know that it is possible to cram 80 minutes into like 20 because because he seems to only know how to write them lengths and then just condense all that.
Yeah,
it'll all happen at once and it will work. It won't.
But generally, it's streaming services. They can be like, oh, what? This episode is 32 minutes long instead of the regular 48. Okay, well, it matches the pace. Oh, fair enough. And there's just a shorter episode. There's one that's like, oh yeah, this is going to be 65 minutes long. It's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. Just be within budget. Give us the amount of episodes we want, and happy days. So there's that flexibility that broadcast TV just doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also you can't put high quality shows out because obviously it's 24 hours a lot of channels, so you can't always put the best stuff out there all the time. And there's also a lot of trash on YouTube, obviously.
Yeah.
And a lot I think TV has a lot more restrictions on what you can put out there compared to YouTube. Obviously with Katie Hopkins and Nigel Farage on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I just think TV needs to get more with the times, otherwise it's gonna die out. A lot my parents, for example, I think they watch more Netflix and Amazon now than they watch actual TV. Not just necessarily for reality shows, but I think they also do a poor job of some TV channels do a poor job of promoting certain shows. Like Whitechapel, that's a great series, but I didn't think it got promoted that brilliantly. Or Line of Duty got promoted.
But Netflix has a similar problem. A lot of independent avant-garde cinema or foreign films, they just get put onto Netflix, but they don't put any effort into advertising. They just advertise the big shows that go on, the Netflix shows that go on for more than 2 seasons. And it's another season of Stranger Things. I'm like, yeah, but I never started watching Stranger Things. So if look at your algorithm, I'm one of the ones who wouldn't care if you gonna have what are you going to advertise to me? I want season 3 of Mindhunter. But
and I think the thing is, like you say about foreign films, I think unless you're a film buff or I don't know, you speak that language and you're in the UK, you're only going to find foreign cinema films if you look for them. You're not, because how often do you find a foreign language film on Netflix that's been recommended to you?
Well, for me,
not many.
For me, quite.
I mean, it depends if you watch them before, I guess. But for me, it seems like they're tucked away in the sort of foreign cinema category. So I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of foreign cinema, but I guess I'd be interested if I knew that they were there, but on Netflix.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see a change in that actually with Parasite winning Best Picture.
Yeah.
I think that's the first foreign film that actually won Best Picture, which is quite shocking actually, when you think about it.
That was a great film.
What inspired you to make the film in Korean?
It's like
I went to Germany.
It's like, I don't know. It's like Gareth Evans, isn't it, with the Raid films? He's a Welsh director, yet he's making it in Indonesian. It's very. But then again, I suppose I guess Indonesian films are more martial arts centric, so it's different market, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, typically, if a foreign film wants to attract a mainstream audience, they have either an American or British lead.
Yeah.
A lot of martial art films from Hong Kong did that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'd say the films on a technical level were quite poor, but they were fun to watch, and it's just endearing.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned Doctor Who. I was wondering, going back to something about biopics, you got Doctor Who having stories involving historical figures,
Yeah.
like their characters and everything. They wouldn't be classed in the biopic genre because it's like, oh yeah, science fiction. But if it followed the story, if some parts of the episode followed the story of that particular figure without looking at, oh yeah, aliens or whatever, or the Doctor, could that be considered in that little microcosm? There's a bit of biopic.
I see what you're saying. Personally, I would say no, because at the end of the day, you've got a time traveler who's coming into that scene, and they're basically, they're not meant to be there, so they're probably going to disrupt some sort of like space-time continuum thing. So it's still sci-fi, and even if you took away the monsters, I think to make it a biopic, you'd literally need to take away the monsters, the shit CGI, and the Doctor, and anything to do with it. I think you just need that one. So for example, I don't know, it's a episode about Napoleon and how he won the war. You literally just need Napoleon and everything that happened there. I don't think it would be a bit of a weird biopic with the Doctor in it.
I mean, the Doctor could be there as like a neutral observer.
I think, this is the thing. I mean, when Doctor Who was made in the 60s, they wanted it to be educational for children. They wanted children to learn about history through Doctor Who. So if you look at some of the really early 1960s stories, so I think The Highlanders is one of them with Patrick Troughton.
Marco Polo.
You've got I think even the first one was a historical about cavemen. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, sorry about that. Cut that out. Anyway, yeah. So I think I've kind of lost track now. Where am I?
Marco Polo.
Yeah. Sorry. So some of the first ones were historicals for children to educate them, but I think as they went on, they realized that it was more of a sci-fi show with like scary monsters and sort of, over the top sets and costumes. So I don't think, especially in the classic series, I don't think historicals really work too well. And even if you move into the new series and look at the one with Vincent van Gogh, for example, that I suppose it shows Van Gogh's character quite well. Whether he was like that or not, I don't know, but it worked well to sort of give you a picture of what his life may have been like. And that one I thought was great because it sort of turned his depression, reflected it with like a monster that only he could see. I think was it something like that? I've not seen it in a while, but that had quite a good meaning to it. But again, I wouldn't classify it as a biopic. I don't think that it would be right to maybe educational, some of them, but not biopic.
Okay. Well, historical.
Yeah, historical, maybe.
Okay.
And I don't have an opinion on this because I don't watch Doctor Who.
All right, no worries.
I watched the one with David Tennant. That was all right.
Which one?
The one where he's like with the master, I guess. Is it the master? The guy from Life on Mars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you want a quiz?
Yeah, I reckon it's time.
Time for the quiz, Jeff.
Sorry, it's just getting dark. I realise on there it's getting a bit grainy, so I'm going to switch my light on.
God damn it, Jeff. I already switched my light on beforehand.
Yeah, there we go.
A bit of tungsten going on there.
Yeah, yellow. Yeah, I think a bit of blue, just... Yeah.
I'll have to turn mine on.
Okay.
You better leave a light on next time.
Hayden, if you want to turn the light on, now's your chance.
I already turned mine on because I come prepared.
Yes. You look purple.
Yes, I'm like an Oompa Loompa. Oh, wait, they're not purple, are they?
Oh, I look like I got
they're orange.
jaundice.
Well, I went for a walk today and I went so far that I almost got lost, but I found my way back.
Whoa. It's like Minecraft.
Yes.
That's where your house is.
Yes.
Let's build like a dirt stack to see where.
Yeah.
If you lose the map in Minecraft, you're screwed.
Oh, I've done it so many times.
Always like write down the coordinates of everything just so I know where it is. Being lost in the Nether is just. Yeah. Anyway, quiz time.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Right. Do I need a pen and paper?
No, I'll write it down.
Okay.
Jeff and his score count.
So,
Jeff, this better not be like university challenge again.
Do we need a buzzer? How's my comment on?
It's whoever's first. If it's a number, whoever's closest to the number. If it's like what it is, someone guesses it. If it's not right, then it automatically like the guess goes to the other one, and then it's whoever gets the right answer.
Okay.
I don't think we got any right answers really on the last quiz. Well, Denham did actually. Denham did.
Ian Fleming, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Question number one. When was Gandhi assassinated?
Oh, Jesus Christ, Jeff.
1942.
1940.
1948. So that goes to Will.
Bastard.
Snowden, Edward Snowden, he leaked the files with the NSA and sought asylum in Russia. In what year did he do this?
Jesus.
I
don't know much about
that wasn't
Edward
the same Snowden. That wasn't the same Snowden who the Queen's sister was married to, was it?
No.
I don't have a clue, Jeff. I don't know anything about Edward Snowden.
Right, random guess.
Honest.
I'm guessing it was some sort of Cold War date. So 1968.
68. Do you have a guess, Hayden?
I'm pretty sure Edward Snowden's still alive. So I'm guessing like 1990, something like that. I don't actually know.
2013.
Okay.
He was nowhere near, but I get the point.
Okay, the film Mank follows the writer of what film?
You literally told me this earlier, didn't you?
Did I? Though?
I swear you did.
I mentioned Mank, but I deliberately did not say the answer to this question.
You know what? I've already forgot that you mentioned it.
I don't know. Oh, I should probably know this, shouldn't I? Is it a famous writer? Well, it probably is, isn't it?
The film is quite famous.
I've no idea. To be fair.
Think of a famous black and white film.
Laurel and Hardy.
Nah. Hayden.
Jeff, I'm gonna have to pass, Jeff, because I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'll give you both a clue. It's directed and starring Orson Welles.
No closer. I'm no closer.
H.G. Wells.
No, Orson Welles.
Yeah, I'm just saying, is that the answer, H.G. Wells?
No.
I don't know.
Oh, the answer is Citizen Kane.
All right. Yeah, I wouldn't have
Okay.
got that. Wouldn't have guessed.
In what year did Stephen Hawking die?
Oh,
2018.
Correct.
20. Oh,
Should
you
be quicker,
already
mate.
beat me to it. God damn it, Jeff.
Oh, no.
You could have let me guess before you announced the answer.
There's a lot of death questions, isn't there?
Yes.
George Washington was the first president. Joe Biden is the 46th. Now, what number was Abraham Lincoln?
The 14th.
17th.
17th. Correct answer is 16th. So Hayden gets this.
Hooray.
Close.
Close.
Yeah. The moon landing happened on what year?
1969.
I'm going to lose again.
Film Dolomite. When did it come out?
I mean,
1992. Complete guess.
95.
95.
I don't know.
Do you want me to? I give you a clue. It's like a blaxploitation film.
I'm sticking to the answer that I had.
Okay.
1968.
You've laid in your guess, but if you want to change that,
I'm not going to change. I won't change my guess.
Okay. 1975.
Oh, I should have changed my guess.
Well, you're closer though. Well.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Because there was a recent biopic against it was of Rudy Ray Moore, and he was like the star and I think director of Dolomite. If you can watch it, it's entertaining.
Give it a watch. I was thinking about Malcolm X when you said it. That's why I said the 90s. So I'm pretty sure that was made in the 90s.
Yeah, I was thinking about that American History X as well. So that's when you said black exploitation. That's what I was thinking it was that time. So
Sully landed an Airbus A320 in the Hudson in what year? Excuse me.
2002.
2001.
Unfortunately.
Okay, you both have the option to change if you so wish.
No, you're trying to tell us that we're both completely off.
I mean, you could be, but I mean, I just want to be nice and give the option.
1971. That's my final answer.
71. And Hayden, are you changing?
1975.
75. 2009.
For God's sake, Jeff.
Hayden wins that one.
God's sake, Jeff. It was close to the first time.
Yeah. I just thought I'd be nice.
Are you just trolling?
I would have won if I'd have said 2002.
Jeff, are you trolling us with this quiz?
No, the answers are right as far as I know, but
no, but this general quiz.
I just thought I'd be sort of like themed on people who have had biopics made of them, like, you know, Gandhi.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I get it. I didn't realize.
In A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Mr. Rogers is played by which actor?
Oh, I've got no idea.
Remember. I can't
Brad
remember.
Pitt.
No, I can't.
It's a recent film, came out 2019.
Matt Damon.
Mr. Rogers. No, can't remember.
You can still lay in the guess though.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna get it because I can't remember.
Well,
I've never seen the film or I've probably heard of it, but I don't recall. So I'm probably gonna go for Steve Buscemi.
You know who Mr. Rogers is, yeah?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, bruh. Like red sweater, old man, very like kind and wholesome children's program.
Nah.
Sort of the American equivalent to Blue's Clues.
No, I'm not American, so I wouldn't know.
But he's still like famous here, and they're like wholesome memes made about him.
Yeah, was it that old bloke?
He is old. Well, he was old. Yeah.
Is he dead now?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass because I've literally got no idea. My final answer is Steve Buscemi. So if it is Steve Buscemi, just let me know.
Hayden,
Um,
I'm rooting for you both.
Both, yeah. That's
Hayden, if you say Steve Buscemi, then there's twice as much chance that the answer will actually be Steve Buscemi.
Nah, I'm just gonna go Sean Bean.
Oh, the answer is Tom Hanks.
Oh, is it?
Oh.
I would have known that.
The answer is the results are Hayden's 3, Will is 4.
Oh, I lose again.
Nice knowing you, mate.
Thank you everyone for joining. And thank you, Will, for being our guest. Do you want to plug any social media?
Instagram, Will Townsend with a Z on the end. That's probably about it, to be honest.
Okay.
Put it in the description.
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah, check it out. Check us out. Subscribe. Get the bell on. Good stuff.
Smash the like button.
Yeah.
Literally smash it.
Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe.
Leave a comment of what you want to hear next or who you want next. And tune in next week when Barack Obama joins us.
And remember to stick around for our big announcement.
Yes. Adios, amigos.
See ya.